America has a serious crime problem.
No, he just put a magazine in it. He's still trying to load it.
Oh my God! He just killed him. He just killed him, dude.
This just happened in St. Louis. Some guy just walks up and blasts a guy in the head. And stuff like this is happening everywhere. So what are we doing about it? Feels like nothing. We had the '94 crime bill. Remember, it got about 100,000 more police on the streets. Introduced the 3-strike rule. You commit 3 felonies and you get life. And these tools drove down the violent crime rate for about 2 or 3 decades. But now what? People don't feel safe, and they're demanding action. And the president's taking action. The president of El Salvador. Just a few years ago, El Salvador had the highest murder rate in the world. MS-13 and drug cartels controlled land all over the country, terrorizing people, carving them up with satanic bloodlust. The people were crying out for help, and a new president rolled in, President Nayib Bukele, who promised to fix things.
If the crime is going up, give more funds to the police, apply more tougher dynamics, get the criminals and put them in jail. We did a lot of things, blowing the army in the streets, blowing the police force, tougher dynamics with criminals. You need law enforcement. That's very, very important. No society can say we don't need law enforcement. I mean, it's common sense. Prisons here were like the headquarters of crime. So we turned that 180 degrees, and now prisons are really tough.
And so instead of defunding the police, President Bukele is giving the cops more money. He's rounding up every gangbanger in the country and throwing them in a mega prison. What you're seeing is 2,000 vicious criminals being transported to El Salvador's new mega prison. The new prison holds 40,000 inmates, mostly MS-13 gang members. It's believed to be the largest in the Americas. And these bloodthirsty gangbangers are going to be locked up for a long time and won't be able to hurt anybody. This is how you do it. This is why crime in El Salvador has dropped like a rock. President Bukele said the country hasn't had a murder in a week. Now, if that's true, that's amazing, considering El Salvador, which has a population the size of Massachusetts, recently had 65 murders in a single Saturday alone. And what do the people in El Salvador think? They love it. President Bukele is one of the most popular leaders in the entire world. He has an approval rating in the high 80s. Even little Rocket Man's jealous of those numbers. What a novel idea. Crack down on crime, take the gangs off the streets, and people love you. Well, everybody loves him, but the American media, who thinks he's some sort of right-wing dictator, but he's a populist who's taking on corruption. Maybe we should take some notes here. Sean Davis is the CEO of The Federalist. So there's no more gangbangers in El Salvador, and there's no more crime. Is this the one thing we can learn from El Salvador here?
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating to watch that when you apply just basic common sense about tackling crime, which is you go after criminals and you put them away, wouldn't you know it, crime goes down. It's not a difficult problem to solve. You actually just have to have the spine and the resolve to do it. So, yeah, I think America's leaders could learn a lot from the El Salvadoran president about how to tackle violent crime here.
If you read any American media, every single thing they say about this guy is bad. They say these poor gangbangers, he's violating the gangbangers' human rights. The conditions in the mega prison, they're mean, and they don't have enough good food. These poor MS-13ers.
Yeah, poor babies. Yeah, there's this weird thing in the leftist American media where they invert who the victims and the perpetrators are. They've decided that laws are racist and cops are racist and prisons are racist, and therefore everyone in them is a victim of racism, and therefore the victims are actually, they're the ones we need to be worried about here, the criminals, and the people who've been had violence inflicted on them, who've lost loved ones. They're the real baddies. It's totally bizarre and odd, and yet they do the same thing here. Just look at what they did with the BLM riots during 2020. The people torching American cities and burning police stations and federal buildings to the ground. They were the victims. They were the heroes here. And they just have such a messed up worldview and sense of how things work that leads them to say these and believe these stupid things about crime.
Well, I'm going to become an American political consultant so I can get paid on the side. And I'm just going to tell every candidate, arrest the criminals, and you'll have approval ratings in the 80s. Just send me a check, and I'll tell you to do that. Sean, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.